All right, 7 o'clock. I'll call this meeting to order. This is the Nottingham Planning Board, December 13, 2017. I'm going to go around the room and have people introduce themselves, at least at the table here. I would like to seat Mr. Robert Davies as a full member in place of Teresa Bascom, member who's absent.
Robert Davies, alternate.
Edward Veal. Dirk Grotenhuis.
Susan Mooney.
Joe Clough.
We'll start right in with the public hearing that we have. It's case 17009 SIT, minor site plan application from 397 Stage Realty Trust, LLC. Gary Smith, the owner of Inventex, is requesting an approval for a proposed building addition, 1,656 square feet for storage and workspace. Property is located at 397 Stage Road in Nottingham. Is identified as tax map 16, lot 36B. Joanna, we've gotten all of the application material. Everything is set with that?
Yes.
Okay. Looks like all of the butters have been notified, and all material is here with the application, signed statement. I guess with that application, I guess I would entertain a motion to accept the application for this case.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the application for case 17-009-SIT as complete.
Seconded.
Motion and a second. Those in favor indicate aye. Those opposed? That's unanimous. So the application is before us right now. And I'd like to open the public hearing initially by having the applicant or the applicant's representative to just talk us through your application and any particulars relative to planning board's purview. And introduce yourself too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Peter Landry, representing 397 Stage Realty Trust. Gary Smith, Inventex is the name of the company. For years, I've driven by this property on Stage Road and always wondered what was going on back there. It's well secluded and with a hill and some hemlock trees. You barely know the businesses there. What the company does do is in your package is Inventex is it's a machine shop, but it's not a customary machine shop for metals as you might be used to. It's for they machine glass and ceramics and stuff for high-end optics, cameras, and satellites for Aerosmith. It's kind of a unique situation. It's very interesting. If you get a chance, Gary would let anybody go through the place. It's kind of a nice little operation he's got going. What I discovered over the years is, and I don't know the history of all this building, but as far as I know, it's always been commercial. Back in '91, they proposed an addition. The main building would be the bigger rectangle where I've got it labeled benchmark, existing building with commercial use. That was the existing building. It was probably 3/4 the size. They added a 36 by 36 on the end towards the river. And then in '94, they dealt with the septic system to allow for 15 employees or 300 gallons a day. Then in '96, they proposed what is somewhat the L, that's you're looking at now at the building, be the southerly end or the southeast side there, where it's labeled slab 100.9. Now, Currently, there's existing pavement that's, as you can see, surrounds the building. And if you can see to the southerly end of that building, you'll see where we've got the proposed addition labeled. It's 46 by 36. Okay. And the placement of that is, of course, to tie into the existing building because it is an addition for storage and such. But it also lands on top of what is already paved or impervious area, which is important because, again, we're not, at the end of this project, we're not creating any additional impervious area. We're building the addition on top of pavement and then adding some drainage devices to force the water, the runoff from that building back into the ground. Okay? So, like I mentioned, the septic system's designed for 13 people. According to the owner, he'd have no more. He has 3 employees now. He might double that, but he'll never have any more than 6 employees. Okay? There's adequate parking spaces for 12 currently. Okay? Now, this isn't a retail wholesale type business. Mainly, the workers come in and shipments are shipped out through UPS. So you have delivery trucks that come in and out of here, but you don't have clientele that come in and stack up and leave. You don't have a lot of traffic coming into this business. As Gary mentioned in his narrative that is included with the application, the company's been around for 21 years. I don't think he's been here that long, but the company has been. And again, it's a growing company, needs a little bit more space, hence the addition. Certainly, if he can't put his addition on, he would consider, and he needs the space, he'd have to consider perhaps a different location. So, now, there really isn't much more. I guess maybe I'll bring it up now. There's been some confusion, or at least I've heard at other meetings, some discussions as for the status of North River in this location and as for whether or not this section qualified for shoreland. Now, in the rivers, the shoreland, they deal with class 4 or higher rivers to qualify for shoreland protection. When you read the information from DES, the North River basically ends at a third order stream, an unnamed third order stream, which doesn't really tell you where it is on the ground. When you look at the town's master plan, it depicts the classes or orders of the streams. So it helps you pin down where the limits of the shoreline on North River actually are. And it's not depicted on here because it's south of this property is where the unnamed third order stream meets the fourth order North River. I've heard discussions, may not be this board, but other boards, where there may be some confusion that maybe the North River goes all the way to the mouth of the North River Lake, which it doesn't. Unless, of course, the information that's at DES as of yesterday is outdated. So, it also talks in the law that you can also double check this information through the Granite program, which is UNH GIS. It's literally written into the law that Granite has to keep track of certain order rivers, 4 or higher for all the towns, and they've got maps on their GIS site that you can also check, which is exactly the same as our master plan. So the question of setbacks from the river, which I had early in the project, I answered by first deciding whether this was shoreland qualifier, which we'd had 50-foot setback, primary setback from reference line. And then additional setbacks on top of that, up to 250. but it's not. So then the next flip of the page would be, okay, what wetland classification is it? Well, it's a running stream today, but, you know, it's not flat, doesn't have muck at the bottom. If and when you go out there in August, July, when it's a trickle, dig around in the ground, you're gonna see that it comes up a poorly drained class of drainage class, which is very common. In areas where the river slows down, flattens out, and just goes really slow, you might have a very poorly drained, because you might have the qualifiers underneath the bed bottom of the 4 inches of muck plus. So this particular section, because of the terrain, poorly drained soil, town requires 50-foot setback, poorly drained. So what we're proposing here, our closest corner is in fact 50.5. So we're right at the setback, no question about it. And that's to the corner of the building, which again is on top of existing impervious material. So as not to increase, you know, sort of looking still at the shoreline protected rules, you know, as a guideline, but not as a requirement. So that's pretty much it for the project. I think that's a good, obviously the business end of it's good for the town. It's a growing business. We don't have a lot of those around. It doesn't have a whole lot of employees, but it does put a mark on the, you know, on our map as for, you know, a successful business. So that's it.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for the applicant at this point?
I have some observations, and I want to ask Pete for some clarification.
Okay.
Peter, I see that the setback of the corner of the building is 50.5 feet from the edge of the river. However, within that buffer, proposed clean fill, which would be less than 50.5 feet from the edge of the river.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I believe at this point, the North River is a Class 3 river, not a Class 4. Class 4 starts around Jabig Road in that area. However, the North River is part of the Lamprey River watershed, which is a protected watershed with the state. So I would like to ask that we spend a little time and look to see what some of the restrictions might be where this falls into the Lamprey River watershed protection under the state protection of rivers.
Are you aware of?
No, we would need to check to see about that. And my second point is, this would be of interest for the Conservation Commission to take a look at, just to see how it lies with the terrain and possibly make some suggestions as to what sorts of vegetation would be put on the river side of the proposed addition. We did the same for the car dealership across the road last year. And it was good to go and look at the topography and make some suggestions for making a little berm so water would not run right off the parking area into the river at that point. And also maybe plant some trees so trash wouldn't blow into the river. And it was very well received. So those are my 2 points, both for you and for the board.
Okay. So if it's under state jurisdiction, we don't really have any say in that Lamprey River watershed.
Correct, but we need to find out if indeed the state does have jurisdiction, and if so, then the applicant needs to apply to the state.
Okay. And that this, you feel that this is a class 4?
No, Class 3.
It's a class 3.
At that point.
And then you're indicating that the granite has it as a class 4.
Well, you work with shore protected rivers, they have to qualifiers, it has to be a 4 or higher. I mean, otherwise it doesn't qualify for shoreline protection.
Correct, but this is a different category. This is a watershed that's protected, which could include sources and Class 1, Class 2.
I'm not aware of any requirements. I know it's a classification.
Yeah.
I think half the town is the Lamprey River watershed. We've done a pretty good job of picking up everything from Stevens Hill Road all the way to Route 4. But I'm not aware that there are any extra setbacks or anything extra.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a classification or maybe a stepping stone for more regulations in the future, but certainly I'm not aware of any now. So if the board has them, or if we can find out where they are, then, certainly. But, according to shoreline protection, there's no mention of, that I could see about the Lamprey River. There may be an advisory committee, and a lot of times I've dealt with that in the past, and it's more or less send them a copy of the plan and get their recommendations. So that's
That would be-
about the gist of all that I
That would be
know about it.
appropriate, yes, because
But
they're
other
the
than
ones that
that-
usually review these applications for DES.
Right.
Yeah, this does fall, well, I know the North River and, certain stretches of the North River and other rivers in town that feed into the Lamprey being protected. There's certain designated stretches of river that fall into that category where usually if applications involve the state or things like that, it goes to the Lamprey River Advisory Committee or LRAC for, I don't think they have like yay or nay authority, but I know they're built into the DES process. So that's something that we would need to just review further, just to make sure that that we have everything. But you're correct, that shoreland is one thing, and then the
Could I just
protection
ask
is
what
separate.
you might have done? You mentioned you just did a project across Route 4, you said, at a
Yes, but they had more than.
car dealership?
They had more than 50 feet of setback, particularly where you indicate here on the drawing that proposed clean fill is going to fall fewer than 50 feet.
Was there a setback to dirt?
Well, I think any addition to
I don't agree with-
topography.
I don't agree with that, but,
Yeah,
An
I mean,
untouched
that's just
buffer.
landscaping, that's reshaping the earth. I mean, I don't know if that's a structure.
Earth, it wouldn't be a structure.
Right.
It would be activity,
But it would be disturbance.
disturbance.
There would be disturbance.
Site disturbance, yeah, within the buffer.
But whether that disturbance, so within that 50-foot buffer,
I thought it was a setback.
Setback,
setback,
buffer.
it's a setback.
So it's not,
They are different.
I'm sitting with engineers.
But, so you guys will check to see if there's something more? that-
Yes.
Okay.
Like another
That's
pair of
reasonable,
eyes,
and then you
and,
want to check, you're still not, you had mentioned you're not certain that this might fall under shoreline? That's something you want to check on your own?
or some category of protected rivers that's outside of the shoreland regs. Might be something else
I didn't
involved.
see anything in our regs about that, the town regs.
No, but it'd be
Set-
state, it would be state,
More state regs, okay, I'm not aware of those.
yeah.
Yeah,
But it would just take,
as far
you
as I know,
know,
it's just a shoreline, but we can check. And
Yeah,
and can we take a look at it? Site walk?
it's snow.
I went out on a site walk today, through the snow, through the woods, and it was fine. I'm sitting there, come on, you guys, and I'm much older
I-
than any.
It's not up to me. It's,
now is that, I'm not opposed to it by no means, you guys could have had plenty of time to go before the meeting, not the conservation, but
Yeah.
the conservation member.
Uh-huh.
Is that something that is a requirement now that we've written in, that the conservation can?
Well, it's, when the formal application comes in, if the planning board is hearing it as a case, then the planning board can ask the Conservation Commission or hold their own site walk.
Okay, the planning board can
Right.
ask for
The plan-
conservation.
the
Right.
planning board can ask for conservation, and the planning board, if we don't, well, we don't have to, but we could also request a site walk for the board members.
Or combined, Conservation and Planning Board, on the same date.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Mr. Land, do you know when, this, just so I can make sure I understand the plan correctly, the area that's kind of shaded around the proposed addition, is that just existing, is that existing there now? or-
Yeah, the dots,
Yeah,
That's gravel, pack gravel.
Okay, and you're proposing with replacing that with loam and grass instead?
Just in that one corner, we'll cut back the pavement to put in those 2 dry wells.
Okay.
And it makes sense just to loam that area in, yeah, maybe picnic table. So right now, that's all impervious, so we'll lawn that area on top of those dry wells, yes.
That's a good thing.
And then, is there, so obviously they want to keep the common wall there instead of coming out, angling it anymore to avoid needing the fill behind it. Is that correct? You're not-
Right, that would be the ideal, to connect to the end of the existing building at the 36-foot and extend that out 46 would be ideal. You're asking, is there room to pull that forward to try to alleviate any fill going over into the 50-foot setback? I'd have to go over that with the client. There may be, but I'm not sure.
Just trying to think
How the roofs
outside
line
the
up.
box to try to, because if there's question with the fill, then that could be avoided. And the concrete section there and the steps that are there, that are showing there.
Yeah, that's all
That's all
existing.
existing.
Yeah,
Do we know when that section, the gravel section with the storage units, do we know when that was added? And did that have approval to
the
expand
storage units,
that section there?
I don't know. I don't know if they needed an approval for storage units. They're trailers.
Or
They're not permanent structures. They're like a tractor trailer.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not 100% sure if those probably would still be staying. I don't believe he's replacing the storage units with the new addition, so, yeah.
And like you said before, so there's no increase to impervious surface, it's all currently, whatever's there is the impervious surface. and
Yes.
It's being just built on top of.
Yeah, that was the idea of it, so we wouldn't be adding any more. And then taking the one step further, Ed, and taking all the impervious on that one roof. You know, we can't do a lot for the whole site, but at least that, and contain that. So we're decreasing, the actual runoff.
And that's what the dry walls are for?
Yeah, yeah. Just to
And
percolate.
I think it's a great procedure to do, because you're taking really the pavement that's potentially washing gravels and fines and other sediments within that 50 feet to the river.
Right.
And essentially your roof is clean.
Clean roof and the extra lawn.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's, again, the detail on it, that, the runoff, Sue mentioned the runoff, of course, everything will run to the river. So it sheets across the pavement. This addition, of course, now picks all that up in that grassy area to help slow down any runoff before it may go out. I didn't see any, there wasn't, you guys will see it on your sidewalk, there's no major erosion or gully erosion or anything like that going down the banking. It seems to sheet pretty evenly out there.
It looks pretty wide.
Pretty wide and pretty flat through
And
there,
pretty
yes.
low.
Yeah, and they're still quite forested. Can't see it in, I didn't bring any pictures, but that's where your sidewalk.
Yeah.
And of course, I know you guys can go out before the meetings, but it's very wooded, but, that's a wooded buffer. Large trees, still got some ground cover and stuff like that, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
However, some will have to come down to put in the dry wells.
What's that?
Some trees will have to come down.
No, that's all, no, because that's all pavement now. Where those dry wells are, that's all pavement and asphalt. That's asphalt and packed gravel.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yeah, and that will then be reclaimed to loam and seed.
And for that concrete area that's in the corner there, it's got a 4-inch PVC drain showing, that looks like it goes into the.
Okay, yeah, that I'm not sure.
You know what that's
That 4-inch drain, yeah, that's somehow draining one of them additions for some reason, because it's a slab, I don't know, that was what, I could locate the outfall of it, and it was reported, it could be roof drains. That's probably more likely a roof drain, because it's a slab, so they probably have the PVC all the way around the building, they put gutters, downspouts, and then they'd spit it out that way.
So it's not any kind of like floor drains or waste
No,
drain?
no.
And with the proposed addition, are there any chemicals used on site that would be increased? Because I noticed in one of the old plans, when it was the other, before it became Inventex,
Yeah, it was a machine shop, I think.
there was water level monitoring, or
Oh, monitoring wells?
Sampling done
Yeah.
in the PCE level, on one of them was flagged as high, it was just over the limits. But I don't know if that's a chemical that's used with this here, or if that was something that had just been not even used before, and it just happened to be in the well. So obviously, we just want to make sure that if there's any increase in the exposure of any chemical use, if there is any used, that there's appropriate systems in place to capture it before it goes back into the septic.
Absolutely, yeah, that's, I'd have to get, I don't know all the details on that, and the owner's not here for me to ask him that, but, I'd have to talk to him about how the process, if there are, there must be spoils, because I don't know if it's, I took a tour through, I thought it was high-pressure water, but there is, like, the spoils from where they cut the glass and stuff, and there were some, I think one of these storage units, and I'll have to get more info, had some barrels or something of just the spoils, but what you're talking about with the monitoring wells was when it was it was a machine shop, it was a Bigelow tool shop.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, you walk in and you can eat off the floor, the place is immaculate.
Yeah, if you're doing
But
optics.
I'd have to get back to you on that, Ed, about what type of chemical and chemical storage.
Or, and then there's a appropriate recovery, especially if there's gonna be an expansion of the manufacturing of it. Just because of the groundwater and, it is residential.
Oh, absolutely.
So is the concrete where the new building is gonna be built, is the concrete slab gonna be torn up and replaced, or is the building gonna be built right on top of it?
No, you'll see this on your site walk, but let me try to explain what's gonna happen. Right now, currently, where the word concrete is, if, you see where I've got concrete written?
No.
That, you see where it says concrete, the piece we're talking about, it says
The
concrete.
diagonal between the
Yeah.
existing and proposed.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Yeah. You see where I have slab elevation 99.4? Okay, so you guys all follow. Now, right on that side of the building, there's a garage door, okay, to access that part. And you can also get in there from the inside. What they're gonna do on this proposed addition, they'll rip the stairs out, they'll have another garage door where they'll be able to drive through the proposed addition, through the back door, open up both doors, drive across the concrete, so they'll need that there, Buzz, and then back into that other building with like fork trucks or whatever they're moving. Some of these pieces of glass as big as this table. So that's right now, they currently drive around the stairs onto the concrete and into the building. When we put the addition in, there'll be garage doors in the front, and in the back, they'll drive through the building, if they need to gain the access, and then into the existing door. Follow? Yeah.
So the door out by the steps, the steps that go off the concrete, that
Yeah.
door is not gonna be used anymore.
No, it'll be used, and it'll be accessed through a new door in the back of the proposed addition.
Got it.
They're just gonna
the
drive
back?
through the new
Drive
addition
through.
Got it.
to get to the back one.
So it's working
But
within the
the
existing. footprint.
concrete slab, my question
Yes.
was, the concrete slab itself.
Yeah.
The one where it says proposed addition,
Yes,
slab elevation 100.9.
yes.
That slab is not gonna be removed?
Just a piece of it down, just there's a little segment of it that'll fall under the building, which will be removed. But that concrete slab will stay there.
Right, so they're not replacing the whole slab with a new
No,
foundation?
they're gonna cut, you can see where they take the stairs out, or.
Yep.
They'll put the stairs probably on the inside of the building, they're on the exterior now.
Yep.
They'll cut the concrete in that one section. Put the building in, make concrete slab.
One thing I'd be interested to see on the site walk, especially now that there's snow, is what the current snow removal practices are, if that's all.
Yeah, that'd be good to see,
point.
yeah.
Because it looks like there'd be a lot less room to dispose of snow from that end of the parking lot. And if there was a higher concentration of salt or other chemicals used for
Yeah,
ice.
or, another way to look at it, perhaps, is the snow won't be hitting the ground anymore, it'll be on the roof.
That's a fair point.
Well,
Less snow removal.
I think a positive thing for the environmental piece of it is that they can't get the snow plowed to that edge.
Right.
Yeah, I think seeing it in person would help
Yep.
make that clear.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Good, thank you.
I'd like to hear if there's any other public that would like to speak to, for, or against this. Anybody in the public want to talk about this application? Please, if you do, just state your name and,
My name is Richard Wolf. I represent the Reed Murphy Estate where the airport is, abutting this property. We don't have any problems with it.
okay,
I've been around the property for 20 or 25 years. And they run a clean operation over there, and you know, they're not noisy people, basically soundless, and they're good neighbors, and we don't have any problem with it.
As long as they meet the setback, there's no issues,
Yeah,
you know? I mean, he polished the Hubble telescope lens, I mean, come on.
oh, that's good.
is that right?
A big company,
Oh,
a small
nice.
company in a little town.
Wow.
It's hard to believe, it's so close to home.
Yeah,
That's-
we didn't know about that
it's interesting.
before. That's cool.
Well, he's awful modest, because he never told me that either.
We know
We've known him for years.
We know Gary.
Neat.
Well, good, it's good to hear positive things.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, public or applicant or board?
What are we gonna do about the site walk?
So that would be the next thing. Does the board want to conduct a site walk?
I do.
Sounds like it.
I think we should, you know.
Okay.
Part of our
So then we
responsibility.
would need to schedule that.
And
And it would
and-
have to go along with, the applicant's approval.
And invite the Conservation Commission at the same time?
Yeah, I could do that by email.
Do we wanna do them combined?
Yeah, I would think it would be combined if, better than one board going and another board.
Right.
So do we want to set up a date? It doesn't have to be on our regular meeting days, right?
No, but where people are mostly working, it would need to be like, say, 4 o'clock to 4:30.
That's even too late now.
You're gonna need a flashlight.
Yeah.
3:30 to
3:30 is
4?
about as late as you can do it right now.
If it isn't cloudy.
And it would have to be on a weekend for most of you that work during the day.
Right.
I'll be, starting next Wednesday, I'm off for a week and a half, so be pretty
Oh.
much open after that. But
Which is the 20th.
20th through New Year's, so I'll be flexible. Do we need a full board for that? Or just,
Well, if we have a quorum, then we have to take notes.
We just have to take notes.
I could do that. That's not a big
But
deal.
it
Unless
doesn't have
Joanna
to
wants
be a
to
full
come
board.
out.
Yeah, do we
No,
have a
just-
time restraint on that? Do we have to, we have to publicize it, right? We're going to do our stuff, like,
Full board, I have to post it, yes.
so that restricts us from doing it, say, this weekend.
So we'd have to do it 15 days or 10 days in advance.
And just,
No-
yeah,
notify.
10 days in advance, so I can post it on the board and the web.
could we do it via email and then append that to the minutes? Just to say it's an extension of the meeting, or is that not?
I know.
Just so we can get Teresa and others to weigh in if they'd be available.
No, it's the public notice.
Yeah, it's just the public notices.
So there's a statutory limit on that, where we have to do it certain 10 days in advance.
Well, what about the 27th? That would have been normally our second meeting day, but we're not meeting on the 27th.
Yeah.
Are people working during the day?
I am. Yeah. It doesn't mean that we
How about the 30th?
can't go.
What's the 30th,
Oh,
Saturday?
really?
Well, first of all, how many of us would like to be able to go?
I'm interested.
And Ed, are you able to get there during the day on a weekday?
If I know in advance enough, I could swing it, yep.
Well-
Probably not that Christmas week, though. That's all I mean.
The week after, the Christmas week, you mean, the week after?
The week, yeah, that 25th through the 30th, 29th. Is
Is convenient?
inconvenient.
Oh, not
I couldn't do
convenient.
it during the day on that. I could do it a Saturday without.
On the
any-
th- on the
any-
30th?
So.
Plenty of light during the day.
We still would have, if we want to have a joint, we'd have to pull the Conservation Commission. So even if we set it, there might be conflicts with the Conservation Commission.
There are 4 of us who are retired, so at least 2 of us will probably be able to make it. But if we set it for a Saturday, then people that work, you know, like.
So you don't do anything when you're retired?
Can we make sure all of this is in the
Every day I do
minutes?
something.
I think it should be in the official record.
How about Saturday, December 30th at 9 AM? Does that sound good to anybody, everybody?
What was the date? Ed?
Saturday, December 30th at 9 AM?
9 AM.
Sure.
And you want me to poll Conservation Commission members?
Yes. Mr. Landry, could you check with your client and see if 9 AM on a Saturday would be able to have people on site?
I don't want to push it out too far and delay it for
Yeah.
No, I'll definitely talk with him on that.
Okay. You just get back with Joanne.
Yeah, I will.
All right. Well, barring that, I think, you know, we've got a lot of questions answered, and so we will continue this meeting, right?
Yes.
So I'd like to hear a motion to continue.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue on hearing case number, I could use some help here.
1709.
SIT until our next meeting in January, which is scheduled for
the 11th.
January 10th at 7 PM.
Seconded?
Motion and second. Those in favor indicate aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So this will be continued along with the hearing until the 11th.
The 10th.
10th. Sorry,
I'm looking at.
of
And
January.
is that enough time for us to get the information, Sue, from the,
Lamprey River?
about the Lamprey River?
Should.
I can put Sam on that, and because he's on the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. Lamprey River Watershed Association, that's the right one. And he can send me the contact, and I can email and just ask about the protection at that point
See if
in
there's,
this
see if
area.
there's anything further that they need to do
Yeah.
before we give them approval.
Yeah, that would be good too. So I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's the only public hearing we have, so we do have, thank you, public, and abutters for coming.
Thank you.
And for the trivia.
Yes.
I think you always get those. I'm a selectman and a planning board chairman, I know.
I didn't catch who seconded the, you did.
So we want to discuss the minor edit to the zoning ordinance.
Yes, you all have your zoning board.
Yep.
with you? Zoning board. Zoning ordinance. Article 5, section C3.
Can we slip on?
The page number
Oh, that'll
by
be
any chance?
What was this section again?
Oh, so it's page 35.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, so expiration of special exception approval, can we also have that, as variance approval? Is there a way that we can word it to include variance?
The expiration of special exception and variance approval? Well,
And permits, sorry, variance and permits. So that we're putting expiration dates on these.
So we would change it, instead of saying expiration of special exception approval, we'd just change that to say expiration of approval, and then in the verbiage, specify,
Sure.
All approvals?
no, expiration of approval, and then you would, in the verbiage, then discuss, specify out what.
Special
you know,
exceptions.
special exceptions.
Oh, I see.
variance.
Right there in the number 3 line.
Yeah, I like that.
Was there anything, was the ZBA, is this something the ZBA asked for too, or?
I've been asked to update our variance application, and then we're gonna be doing this special exceptions as well. And one of the other towns that they're using for their template, basically, there's the approval expiration dates, and it includes special exception, variance, and permits. And I think that that would be wise for us as a town to include all those as well, because we try to put sunset clauses, but we don't tend to always remember to in our approvals of all of our applications. So if we have one built in our ordinance, then that covers us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it'd be up to the applicant at that point. It puts the onus on the applicant, not the town, to come and request an extension or.
Right.
Could we see a draft of what it would look like and then approve that?
Yes,
Are they
definitely.
trying to get this on the ballot for this year?
Well, if we can,
Which is gonna be tight, right?
okay. Our last day to post that would be January 12th, so if we can do email edits and then approve
Approve it on the
posting
10th.
on the 10th, and I can post it for the expiration date.
Okay.
That's a plan.
I'm sorry?
That's a good plan.
Oh, okay, good.
Joanna, could I have those dates again? Last day to post is what? January?
The last day to post the zoning change is January 12th.
So the only thing with that is if we email it and we all are applying as a group, that becomes a public meeting, correct?
No, we'll do the approval at our meeting.
Yeah, but even if we're discussing something as a group, an email becomes a public meeting. So we just have to make sure we keep track of that.
So then the minutes discussions are considered a public
I believe
meeting?
so. I believe anything that's done with a quorum. I believe electronic communication's involved in that.
Don't remember hearing that, okay.
It's probably, yeah, it's probably something we should double check to make sure that,
Well, yeah, but wouldn't that only be the case if we were having like a conference? All of us, at 4 of us or more at the same time?
but if
By
we're
email?
discussing, if we're.
Yeah, the statute does refer to electronic communication. I don't know if the minutes would constitute that,
Doesn't
because
sound
we're
like
just
the minutes would.
clarifying something that's already happened, as opposed to this would be discussing actual town business, right?
Yeah, because we're not, I know we're not doing like approval, we're not discussing cases, or anything like that, but if it's board, I think we probably want to clarify, just for the future, if it's board-related matters, should we just be replying directly back to you and having everything?
But this wouldn't be anything that the public, I mean, we wouldn't say this is, to get it onto the warrant article, then they would see it, right? So then they would see it and approve it or not approve that change.
Right.
And we're not making decisions via email, we're just looking at verbiage.
Right.
I mean, it's all discoverable, I mean,
Exactly.
it's all public record, but whether we have it as in a file, I don't know that, Joanna, I'm sure you keep all of our emails anyway,
Yes, we do.
so.
Run them down.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
so I'm thinking that if there's 4 on an email chain, it wouldn't constitute a planning board meeting.
I know what Ed's referring to. I remember reading
I
that.
remember it,
I think
yeah.
there's a definition of what the actual business is that would make it.
Okay. Well,
Because if there's 4 of us and we're talking about how poorly the Patriots played, it's not a big deal. So, like, is Art clarifying the minutes constituting town business, or is this constituting town business? I can see if I find that part.
I think for direction for you would be if you can provide some draft language, send it around to the board,
Will do.
and then we can review, we can either correspond about it or not, and
Or ignore,
Wait
read
until-
it and wait till the meeting.
wait till the meeting. Review meeting schedule for 2018.
had sent that out earlier, had you show Joanna for us to look at.
Yeah.
I didn't see any problems with that.
I did make one edit. After the discussion that we had, or the comment that was made about the second meeting and not knowing which, meeting the applicant would be heard at, I put a little clause at the bottom, and that's what I'm basically asking for approval on, is the land use director will determine which meeting date your public hearing will be held on. That being because oftentimes I can tell which cases are gonna cause the meeting to be lengthy or extended, and, which ones aren't. Sometimes I'm wrong, but, so my thought was, depending on how many I have coming in, I could say, okay, you came in first, you're gonna be on the first meeting. If you came in later, you can be second. Is that okay with you all? Try it for this year, maybe?
And then we could have committee meetings on the off Wednesday.
Yeah, the only, I guess I'd, just looking at the statement, I know we talked earlier about it. It's a little bit too subjective that the land use clerk will determine which meeting date your public will be held on. If I make an application for the January 15th meeting, then I have to look to you to say, okay, when am I gonna be heard? And if it's up to you, then it could be May 9th. You know, it could be 4 months from now.
So the way I read it is, your application is due January 15th for one of these February dates.
Okay.
That's what I thought too.
Okay, all right. All right, I'll go with that.
Joanna, is, town meeting on the 10th of March? With voting on the 6th?
No, voting is on the 13th and meeting is on the 17th.
Well, then we can't do, yeah, never mind. We can't, say that again? Voting is on the 13th and town meeting's on the 17th?
Correct.
Then the March 14th date can't happen for electing officers because they wouldn't have been elected yet.
Yes, they would have at the 13th meeting, election.
Oh, yeah, right,
Yeah, as soon as
okay,
you're
the day
elected, you're
before, okay, never mind.
You and I will be exhausted for that meeting, but we'll be there.
Okay, got it.
So what was the revised verbiage at the bottom that we just discussed for the, did we change the verbiage?
What was this?
Yeah, oh, I know, did we change it since that?
No,
Okay.
I was convinced of doing
Got it.
Yeah, I was thinking, and we can make it longer,
No.
basically say, yeah, like something to put a clause in there about,
that. No. All right, so I guess this, unless there's any other comments or questions, we just need to vote that this be adopted.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the 2018 Nottingham Planning Board public hearing application deadline schedule as proposed.
Motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any comments? Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That's unanimous. Public comment period, no one's here. Board of Selectmen updates, staff updates, I'll just go around the room. Buzz, do you have anything
I'm fine.
to share? Ed?
Not tonight.
Sue?
Conservation Commission has been doing conservation easement site walks. Today, Sam and I did one half of the Highlands properties. Earlier, the Friend easement off 156 has been done. Kimball Family Forest is scheduled. Mendham's is coming up this coming Saturday, and we will be finishing Highlands, we hope, on Sunday afternoon. I think that's it. I don't, yeah, that's it. And there was something else. Oh, yes, we hope to place 2 properties into conservation easements in the very near future. The third, we ran into some legal difficulties, so that will be on a warrant article, we hope, for March town meeting. And that's
Joe?
it.
CIP, we're close to approving the proposed CIP, capital improvement plan. Next meeting is on, it's next Thursday, I believe. At the last meeting, there were only a couple changes to the plan that we had discussed previously. There were some additional questions about the proposed expenditures for a new fire truck for next year. There was a response from the fire chief. I haven't had a chance to read through the notes, but the key question was around, is there actually additional lifespan on that vehicle, given that it hasn't had an increase in maintenance costs necessarily, but it's past fire chief's 20-year lifespan estimate by a couple years. 2 years past. It's a 1995 truck. The other change was an increase in the administration's ETF budget from putting away 5 to putting away 10K a year, given the lift at the library and the HVAC system in the town offices. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And now we've got some minutes. I saw that there's a number of comments, and it sounds like everybody's had a thorough look of the minutes. And
I would like to give one update from the office, though.
yes, sorry.
That's okay. There is another case already scheduled for the January 10th, as well as our continued case. That is for the Evans property, Sarah Evans. And I already have all the documents loaded and on the website. So if you get a chance to take a look at them. You may want to, especially for the CC.
Yeah.
What was that, the subdivision?
Yes.
How many
minor
lots?
subdivision.
Minor, okay.
And then the Reedville property, abutting the Whites Road property, that would be a major subdivision coming forward sometime in the 2018. They met, you guys already.
Conceptual.
Okay.
By the way, in addition, I did walk the Ray Hill property with Mr. Bruno, Phyllis Ray Hill's son, last week, and wrote up a report.
Thank you.
Sorry, before we bring up the minutes.
Yes.
Was there anything that you wanted to discuss with us on the handout, or just an FYI?
Oh, that's just an FYI.
Okay.
Is this something we should just mention? Is this getting publicized on our website, on the town website? Because this is basically it's something of regional impact, I believe, is why we're being notified. Basically, it's saying that, I'll mention it, it's saying that New Hampshire DES is processing permit application for expansion of the TLR3 refuse disposal facility, commonly known as Turnkey Landfill in Rochester, New Hampshire, with a public hearing scheduled for December 19th in Rochester. And public comment period is now open. They have a link for their website.
So can we move on to the minutes? Any other comments or? Okay, great. Any other comments with the minutes? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve them.
Did you already make the change about putting a note for private road, not a class 6, on line 18? Where the applicant said class 6, but it
Right.
is not a class 6.
Class 6, and we're going to leave class 6, but we're gonna put a parentheses, private road, actual private.
Okay, not class, okay. I
Yes.
move that we accept the minutes of November 8th, 2017.
Motion, second.
A second.
Ed, second. Any other discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
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 Those opposed? That's unanimous. We've reached the end of our agenda.
Mr. Chairman, unless anybody else has anything, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. Those in favor? And aye?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, thank you.
Thank you.